Most people quit at the exact wrong moment. You break at the exact moment it matters. Not sometimes. Not when the odds are bad. You break when the floor is about to give way under them, and you hand them a rope. You feel the heat rise, the silence stretch, the eyes measure you. Your chest tightens, your throat dries, and you spill. You explain. You apologize. You fold. You think you're being smart. You think you're being reasonable. You're not. You're leaking rank. You've been here. The offer is on the table. It's thin. You say nothing for 3 seconds, and the air gets heavy. You panic. You fill the silence with your value. You list your reasons. You try to sound cooperative. You throw in a discount to move things forward. And the second you do, the other side knows the truth. Your frame just buckled. They could have given you more. You gave it to them without a fight. Different room, different faces, same pattern. Someone questions you. Are you sure you can handle this? You feel the sting. Your ego flares. You try to defend your competence. You make a case. You give evidence. You overprove. That instinct feels righteous. It isn't. It's submission. You accepted their frame. You beg to be let back inside it. You think that closed the doubt. It actually put you underneath it. This is how most people live. They call it being good communicators. They call it being nice. They call it being professional. Rhetoric for surrender. They give away positioning like loose change. They don't even see the transaction. They think power is about facts, effort, fairness. It isn't. It's about frame. It's about who moves first and who doesn't move at all. The trap is classic. You want to be seen as worthy, so you perform worthiness. You want to be seen as strong, so you act strong. You want to be seen as agreeable, so you chase agreement. And the second you try to be seen, your power is rented out to the audience. They own you. They can raise or drop your price with a look. They can starve your confidence with silence. They can inflate you with crumbs. You think you're steering. You're not. You're being calibrated. Look at what drives you in those moments. Not logic, not strategy, fear, and not the useful kind. The low-level social panic that controls most lives. The fear of disapproval. The fear of being misunderstood. The fear of being seen as difficult. You say you want results. You behave like you want comfort. You will trade leverage for the illusion that people like you. You will torch outcomes to avoid an awkward pause. You will eat status debt for a nod. You defend when you should deny the battlefield. You explain when you should withdraw oxygen. You chase signals from people who didn't earn the right to signal you. You jump to answer questions that were designed to subordinate you. You accept terms before you know the game. All of this feels normal. It's not normal. It's conditioning. You were trained to prioritize harmony over hierarchy. So you wear softness as a strategy and wonder why the hard edges cut you. You say, but I'm being rational. No, you're being reactive. You move because they moved. You speak because they looked. You decide because you were asked. You schedule your energy around their urgency. You defend against frames you shouldn't even be inside. Your life is a series of controlled reactions. The puppet believes in free will because the strings are thin. Understand this behavior at the level it actually lives. Ego and validation. Ego is the costume. Validation is the drug. You need to be seen in a certain way, so you micromanage perception. You try to manage how they feel about you. You try to manage how they interpret your motives. That's why you explain too much. That's why you qualify statements. That's why you collapse when someone seems unimpressed. You are trying to moderate their inner world. If that's your game, you've already lost. You cannot occupy someone else's mind without paying rent in self-respect. Every time you defend, you tell them their judgment matters more than your result. Every time you justify, you confirm their right to sit above you. Every time you chase clarity from someone who's half interested, you advertise your dependence. You may think you're clarifying terms. You're not. You're clarifying that you'll pay any price to be chosen. That smell sticks. People sense need the way sharks sense blood. They move toward it. They circle it. They test it. And when they bite, you call it bad luck. Here's the truth you avoid. Power lives in unresponsiveness. Not ignorance, not incompetence. A disciplined refusal to be moved by irrelevant pressure. Most people cannot hold that line. They fold the moment social friction rises. They crave relief. They rush to tidy the moment. They hand over authority for a pat on the head. Then they wonder why the same patterns repeat with different faces. It's not the faces. It's your reflexes. Watch how you destroy your own status with the small things. You show up early and wait like a pet. You say, no worries, when they're late. You answer quick questions that aren't quick. You laugh at weak jokes to lubricate approval. You use emojis to soften truth. You accept fuzzy terms and act surprised by fuzzy outcomes. You accept shifting boundaries and call it flexibility. None of this is neutral. It's a ledger. They're recording data on what you tolerate. You're writing your own map of where you can be pushed. You think your image is built by words. It's built by thresholds. What you ignore, what you don't explain, what you refuse, how you act when pressed. If every push gets a concession, you've communicated your ceiling. You'll never be respected past that point. People will enjoy you when it benefits them and sidestep you when it costs them. They'll find you pleasant, helpful, professional. They won't put you in the room where decisions are made, because decision rooms are not for people who need to be liked. The worst part? You confuse exhaustion with progress. You grind in low-status behaviors and tell yourself it's work ethic. You overshare, overprepare, overcompensate. You drown in detail, expecting detail to save you. You carry other people's anxieties into your body. You call it being responsible. It's not responsibility. It's fear disguised as virtue. You think if you pay enough pain, the universe will repay you. The universe doesn't keep ledgers. People do. They pay those who look expensive to move. Understand status economies the way predators understand terrain. Social interactions aren't neutral exchanges of information. They're contests of whose frame sets the terms. Every question is a test. Every delay is a probe. Every compliment is a leash hidden in velvet. Most people hear sounds. They don't hear the structure underneath. They hear, we just want to make sure everything is aligned, and they dump pages of detail. The structure says, we own the right to interrogate you. You comply. You think you made progress. You just affirmed the pecking order. You anchor yourself to fairness, and then cry when the weight drags you under. Fairness is a story. Leverage is physics. The person with options moves slower, speaks less, decides later. The person without options talks more, volunteers more, begs for clarity, and accepts the terms on the table. You do this in negotiations. You do it in relationships. You do it with strangers. You repeat it so often you don't even feel the pattern. You just feel anxiety and confusion, and wonder why the world is so unpredictable. You aren't confused. You're resisting the cost of power. There's a price to being the axis around which a room turns. You have to hold still when others twitch. You have to refuse to defend what doesn't require defense. You have to choose outcomes over politeness. You have to endure the feeling that people might dislike you. That cuts your ego. That's why you scurry back to safe postures. You pretend your standards are intact. They're not. Standards that collapse under social pressure are just preferences. Look at your language. It betrays you. Does that make sense? If that's okay, I hope this helps. No worries if not. You kneel in your own sentences. You cushion every assertion with a permission slip. You telegraph that you can be bent. You remove the teeth from your words before they even leave your mouth. Then you wonder why nobody feels compelled to take you seriously. You do-aponize yourself, and then complain that the world is armed. You idolize consistency. It makes you predictable. It makes you easy to file. You walk into a room and they already know how you'll behave. You're safe. Safe is not respected. Safe is exploited. They know you'll take the 5 p.m. meeting. They know you'll say yes to a quick favor. They know you'll absorb their mistakes because you cover for the team. And the one time you try to draw a line, they treat it like a glitch. They push harder. You retreat. Status confirmed. When you do try to flex, you do it wrong. You escalate too fast. You swing passive to aggressive without the spine underneath. You try to impose force without owning frame. It looks like a tantrum dressed in strength. People don't respect that. They smell the performative. They wait for your energy to burn out, and then they return the conversation to normal meaning their terms. You tell yourself you tried. That's how you calm yourself back to sleep. I'm not here to stroke you. I'm here to show you the mechanism you keep refusing to see. Power is not found. It is established. Status is not requested. It is declared, then defended by behavior. You can speak like a king and move like a servant, and people will treat you like a servant with a loud mouth. You can speak like a servant and move like a king, and people will recalibrate on instinct. They'll feel the cost of contesting you. They'll think twice before poking you for sport. Most people never cross that line because their identity is glued to the image of being good, kind, agreeable, humble, flexible, supportive, collaborative. Translation: predictable and safe to press. They confuse meekness with morality. They equate confrontation with cruelty. They avoid tension like it's poison. Tension is where power crystallizes. If you avoid it, you outsource your choices to whoever doesn't. You want a clean story that says you're oppressed by circumstances. Easy narratives for fragile egos. The real story: you give up power in routine micro-decisions because discomfort scares you more than being controlled. You fear judgment more than lost leverage. You fear a stranger's opinion more than your own regret. You fear being difficult more than being invisible. That is the core weakness, not intelligence, not talent, nerve. Let's puncture your illusions brutally. You think people judge your value by your intentions. They judge by what it costs to move you. If you cost nothing, you're worth nothing. If changing your mind takes 2 questions, your standards are a costume. If you spill your reasons to anyone who frowns at you, your convictions are theater. If a pause makes you talk, you're owned by whoever can keep their mouth shut longer. It's not personal. It's structural. This is the collapse you've been delaying. The old self is a collection of social reflexes. It was built to avoid friction. It was built to earn pats on the head. It was built to never be accused of being selfish or arrogant. That self is expensive to carry. It consumes time, energy, dignity. It gets you thanked for being easy to push around. It gets you included where impact is small and excluded where consequences are real. It gets you burned out and disposable. Stare at it. The old self defends when accused. The old self over-explains when asked. The old self says yes to earn points. The old self takes crumbs so it doesn't have to ask for the whole loaf. The old self mistakes niceness for power. The old self hopes principle will rescue it from human nature. It won't. The old self is weak, exposed, and unsustainable. If you keep living like that, you will keep quitting at the exact wrong moment and telling yourself stories about timing. Power is created in how you set and hold frame. That's the build. You don't hunt approval. You impose terms. You act like the axis and refuse to audition. Control isn't loud. It's still. Leverage isn't a speech. It's options. Status isn't a vibe. It's the demonstrated habit of not moving under pressure. You learn to starve the dynamics that feed on your need to be liked. You learn to move as if judgment cannot stick to you, because you do not apply for judgment. Start with the spine of it, refusal. Not tantrum, refusal. No without explanation. Not available without apology. That won't work without the nervous smile. You've been trained to think refusal requires justification. It doesn't. You don't explain decisions to anyone who hasn't earned that right. Refusal doesn't have to be antagonistic. It just has to be pure. No. Silence. Let them deal with the vacuum. Silence is a weapon. It feels like fire to you because you've spent your life putting out small social fires by talking. Stop. When a question is loaded to subordinate you, don't validate it. Give a clean alternate frame or give nothing. Example, why are your rates so high? Wrong move, a paragraph of history and market research. Dominant move, because that's what it costs to do it right. Then wait, they push again? If cost is the focus or not aligned, silence. People reveal themselves when you force them to live in the space where manipulation usually works. Scarcity is leverage. You create it by having options, and you display it by acting as if you do. Options are built ahead of time. You don't show up starving and ask the table to respect you. You arrive fed. That's why your calendar matters. That's why your pipeline matters. That's why your standards matter. People pick up on whether you need them. They smell urgency. They exploit it. When you move slow, when you don't flinch, when you take your time to decide, you communicate that you don't need the hit. You communicate that you can walk. The ability to walk away is the backbone of dominance. Frame is declared through selection, not pleading. You don't ask to be chosen. You decide who fits your terms. You move like a gate, not a beggar. Language. Here's how I work. This is what I expect. This is the pace. If that's a fit, we proceed. If not, no problem. You remove the scent of desperation from your words. You don't chase. You don't fill silence with your worth. You treat interaction like an audition for your standards. This triggers a recalibration. They feel the cost of being inside your world. Cheap people will leave. Good. Let them. When accused, don't defend. Frame flip. Treat the accusation as data about the accuser or as irrelevant noise. Example, you seem arrogant. Old reflex. No, I'm not. I just. Dominant move. To some, then nothing. Another. Who do you think you are? Old. Biography plus self-justification. Dominant. The one deciding this. If they escalate, you reduce the scope. We don't need to agree on who I am. We just need to decide if we move forward. You keep gravity on decisions, not identities. When they press you for urgency, drown their fire with ice. We need an answer by end of day. You know, it's false scarcity. Old you scrambles. Dominant you says, that timeline doesn't work. Silence. If they threaten, we'll have to go with someone else. Don't flinch. Do what you need. They expected fear. You gave indifference. That's a break in their script. If your value is real, they'll circle back. If not, you avoided a client who planned to own you with deadlines. Either way, you win control. When they ask loaded questions, strip the payload. Can you do it cheaper? Your spine. Cheaper means removing scope. What do you want removed? You trade price for concessions, not dignity. Can you start tomorrow? If we're moving that fast, you accept my process without edits. Why should we pick you? Maybe you shouldn't. What criteria are you using? Push them to formalize their frame. Once it's on the table, you can move it. When someone tries to hook you with flattery, treat it like bait, not food. We love your energy. Could we get just an hour of your time to brainstorm? Translation. Free work. Response. My calendar is for clients. Silence. If they get offended, they revealed intent. If they respect it, they'll pay. You don't bend to emotion. You let emotion burn out in front of your wall. Use time as a signal. You decide when to reply. You decide how long a meeting runs. You decide how much of yourself is available. Random responsiveness lowers your status. Structured availability raises it. If you act like your time is open, people fill it with low-value demands. If you treat your time like a premium resource, people self-edit, set windows, set rules, enforce them without theatrics. I answer messages at 4 p.m. Full stop. Command the room with economy of movement. The person who owns a space doesn't chitter, doesn't fidget, doesn't rush. Speak slower than your instincts want. Remove the filler. Don't say, don't say like. Don't walk back sentences after you land them. Land them and let them stand. Don't nod to every word someone else says. Don't laugh to smooth the corners. You're not smoothing anything. You're sanding down your spine. Refuse to be a dancing bear for people who test you with arbitrary tasks. Send 3 different proposals to see what you can do. No, I'll send one. If we're aligned, we move. If not, we stop. Can you hop on a quick call? Send your questions in writing. If they push, it's a compliance test disguised as logistics. You can pass the content and still fail the test. They're not just reading your answers. They're reading your posture. Don't negotiate with vagueness. Vagueness is a strategic fog that hides traps. Force clarity. What does success look like in measurable terms? If they can't answer, they're not ready to run a process. Or they're setting you up to be blamed later. Either way, pause. We're not aligned enough to proceed. Silence. Let them organize their own mind. Your job is not to parent adults. When they try to judge you, you refuse the court. Judgment requires you to show up as a defendant. Don't redirect. That's not the metric I'm optimizing. Or sharper, I don't make decisions to look good to you. Brutal? Yes. Effective? Always. Most people are too addicted to approval to say it. That's why it works. You shatter the invisible contract that says you'll perform for their comfort. If you need to reverse a dynamic instantly, reduce the scope of what's being discussed to something you control. Someone tries to debate your character. Shift to terms. Are we doing business or not? Someone tries to hijack the agenda. Reinstall your frame. The outcome is X. Every point must serve X. If not, it's noise. Someone tries to escalate drama. Remove oxygen. This isn't emotional for me. Say it like you mean it. Then act like it. Understand the psychology that makes this work without turning it into a classroom in your head. Humans follow perceived authority and withdraw investment from unstable frames. Authority isn't yelling. Authority is the consistent display that you won't be moved by trivial forces. Your calm in the heat teaches the other side what reality is. Your refusal to dance teaches them their choreography doesn't apply. Once that lands, you don't have to fight. They self-censor. They self-modify. You save energy and increase control. Your words are blades if you sharpen them. Use them like this. When they minimize you, that's small thinking. I don't do small. When they pressure you, your rush isn't my problem. When they question your boundaries, this is how I work. Decide if you're in. When they try to negotiate your values, non-negotiable. When they bait you into justifying, not interested in explaining, decide. Deliver without heat. Heat is a tell. Calm is the tell you want. Calm signals that you have backing internal or external that makes theatrics unnecessary. Detach outcome. This isn't mystical. It's practical. Outcome detachment is a function of options and belief. If you believe you're fine either way, you behave like it. If you're fine either way, you scare people who are used to control. Detachment doesn't mean indifference to quality. It means indifference to whether a specific person says yes. You act like the door is always half open behind you. You can leave at any time. That posture removes 80% of manipulation methods because they assume you won't walk. Refuse to play amateur therapist, people who want to make their anxiety your problem. You seem distant. I'm direct. You're intimidating. Only if you're fragile. You're not very collaborative. I collaborate with peers. These lines aren't about winning a debate. They're about establishing that you won't allow low-resolution accusations to govern your behavior. People adjust, or they leave. Either outcome increases your density. Use selection as a ritual. Vet hard. Ask filtering questions. What do you expect from me that you failed to get elsewhere? What do you do when deadlines slip? Who makes the final decision? What's the real budget, not the safe number? Listen for flinches. Flinches show where they plan to play games later. The audition goes both ways. You don't run toward flags and hope they turn green. You mark them and remove yourself. That's how you save yourself from managing chaos you could have rejected on day one. When someone tries to cut your price, make them cut themselves too. We can do it for 20% less. Then we cut deliverables by 30% to keep the same margin. You set the math. You control the trade-offs. Never discount without an asymmetrical return, faster approval, exclusive case study rights, earlier payment, bigger scope, later locked in writing. Discounts with no return. Teach them you'll bleed for nothing. They'll keep cutting. If a rival enters the room and tries to elevate themselves by dragging you, starve the comparison. We're not in the same category. Then pivot away. If pressed, be forensic. We serve different markets. Their model is volume. Ours is precision. You refuse the binary they offered. You don't share a stage you didn't build. You don't share a label you didn't choose. When a group tries to swarm you with opinions, compress the chaos to a single point of accountability. Who signs? If they deflect, you deflect the meeting. I only take direction from the decider. This cuts through committees. It also irritates insecure people. Good. Insecure people try to use group noise to control you. Once they realize it won't work, they either make room for you or they eject you. Both outcomes cleanse. If they test your boundaries with small known compliance late calls, casual rescheduling, scope creep enforce immediately without anger. We start on time. We end on time. Today is an exception. Next time we reschedule. This is outside scope. We can add it at X rate. We agreed to approvals within 48 hours. Clock starts now. Write it. Send it. Hold it. Don't joke about it. Don't soften it with cute. If you care about respect, you care about the tiny laws that produce it. When they bait you with personal attacks to drag you into low-status brawls, go blind to the bait. You're hard to work with. With the wrong people, yes. No defense. No biography. No. Let me explain why I'm actually quite collaborative. You don't run ads for your personality. You protect a piece of your operating system. Own your mistakes without flinching, but don't perform guilt. I missed that. I'll correct it by X time. Calm. No groveling. No trauma theater. People try to extend your admission into a self-flagellation ritual because it raises their status. Don't give them the show. Fix it and move on. That shows more control than 1,000 excuses. Cultivate asymmetry in every interaction. Ask more than you answer. Set the agenda before they can. Decide the medium. Email, not calls, to control tempo. Decide the place, my office, to control environment. Decide timing, next week, to control pacing. Every decision point is a lever. You don't need to pull them all. You just need to pull the ones that communicate you're not here to be processed by someone else's machine. Most importantly, stop narrating your inner life to the crowd. You don't share doubts to strangers. You don't announce fears to potential adversaries. Vulnerability is currency. Only spend it where the exchange rate is high. Your public face is clean, hard, simple. Your private world can carry warmth. The crowd didn't earn that access. When you keep your interior contained, they can't weaponize it against you. This is not about becoming a robot. It's about becoming untouchable to the low-quality games that run 90% of interactions. You keep your warmth for the few. You keep your ruthlessness for the many. You separate the two. The world will come up with names for it. Cold, arrogant, intense. Those words are price tags for elevation. If you still flinch at them, you're still shopping in the wrong store. You want examples in the raw? They, can you hop on a quick call? You, send bullet points. I'll respond at 4 p.m. They, we need a discount. You, what do we remove? They, we're talking to others. You, good, decide who fits your standards. They, you sound confident. You, I am. They, we need this faster. You, then we remove steps or increase budget. Pick one. They, that tone won't work here. You, then this won't either. They, why should we trust you? You shouldn't yet. That's earned. Decide if you want to proceed to the point where you can. You're not trying to win arguments. You're asserting geometry. You let them know what lines you don't cross. You speak like the person who writes the rules for their own life. You stand so still, they feel their own shaking. People who know value will respect it. People who live on control will rage. Both are useful signals. You want to be psychologically untouchable? Stop competing in games where your opponent picks the rules. You don't answer every question. You don't accept every meeting. You don't let strangers pull you into defining yourself according to their insecurity. Your identity is not on trial. Your outcomes are. Your standards are. That's what you talk about. That's where you stay. The reversal happens the moment you stop performing worth and start enforcing terms. It happens when you stop collapsing under silence and start wielding it. It happens when you put no back into your vocabulary, strong and unadorned. It happens when you drop the need to be seen as good and replace it with the need to be effective. You will feel the old self trying to pull you back with pleasant words. It will call you cruel. It will call you risky. It will list the people who might not like you. Count that as proof you're walking out of their frame. The dangerous part is the cleanest. You must become willing to be disliked by the wrong people. You must become willing to leave money on the table if the cost is your posture. You must become willing to let an opportunity die so your standards live. That willingness is the first honest leverage you've ever had. It's not a line. It's an internal deed transfer. You stop leasing your backbone to anyone who looks at you long enough. I won't pretend this is easy. It's not. It's simple. There's a difference. You'll shake the first few times you hold a line. You'll burn the first few times you let silence sit. You'll hear your old training screaming at you to soften, to explain, to be likable. Ignore it. You're not building a brand. You're building a spine. You're not seeking permission. You're establishing dominion over your minutes, your words, your movements. Here is the initiation. For the next 7 days, you eliminate 3 phrases from your mouth. Does that make sense? If that's okay, no worries if not. Replace them with nothing. Force the weight of your sentences to land without a cushion. When people push you, say less. When they demand reasons, give terms. When they test you, hold. Keep a private tally of every time you would have folded and didn't. Watch how the world reorganizes around you slowly, then suddenly. Then raise the stakes. Pick one domain: clients, colleagues, relationships, and rewrite the rules. Schedule your availability. Publish your standards. Enforce 2 consequences. Walk from one situation that disrespects your terms. Bleed the weakness. You will feel loss. Good. Weakness demands sacrifice on the altar of your future. Pay it and stop whining. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a knife across the throat of your old identity. You can choke on the habit of being liked, or you can breathe as someone who writes their own terms. Power is not given. It is taken, not with noise, with silence, not with performance, with refusal. Stop quitting at the exact wrong moment. Let the pressure sit. Watch how quickly their confidence turns into negotiation when yours doesn't. Step into the cold. Then stay there until the room adjusts to you or empties. Both are wins. This is the door. Walk through it or stay small. Choose.